Hello and welcome to all the listeners to this ninth episode of the Blind Android Users podcast. We hope you are doing very well. First of all, we have got some announcements to make. We want to thank the people at Top Tech Tidbits for mentioning our podcast in the last week's newsletter. And wow, that was some serious, mention because we got a lot of listeners and the mailing list also has grown a lot. So we thank them and keep sharing the list and keep sharing the podcast and help us reach the wider community. We also want to thank Shane Lowe from Supersense, lifetime validity of the Supersense app, which we will be demoing today. So, Warren, how are you?
Doing well, Austin, except that it's been snowing here for the past 3 or so days and kind of cooped up in the house. Of course, kids love it. I don't know, but doing well.
And another thing happened this week is not much related to technology, but we want to congratulate all the people from England for that fantastic win over India in Chennai in the test match cricket.
That's a nice sport of you, Austin. And talking about England, well, we have a guest, Mr. Edward Green.
Hi, folks. Good evening, everyone from England, from London.
And our co-host, Dennis. Where's Dennis hiding at?
I am here. Hello, Edward. Hello, Austin. Warren.
What is it like at your end, Dennis? Are you guys finished digging out of that snowstorm?
Hell no.
No.
Every time we get dug out, more of the damn white stuff comes. I'm tired of it.
So we're going to talk about that Supersense. And how about we go ahead and roll out that interview with Shen Lo from the Supersense team. We have a very special guest, Shen Lo from our friends of Supersense. Now, we've talked about Supersense before with Emery. I think maybe sometime last year. And I am so delighted that we have our friend Shen Lo here, who is going to be talking to us about the new things happening in the land of Supersense and some new apps that probably not on Android yet, but we'll talk about that all the same anyway. So
thank you so much, man.
With Shen. Hey, Shen, you want to tell our friends, our listeners, who you are? We're excited that you've joined the Supersense team. You've got that young blood in there, man, and you're all fired up.
This is young blood. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I started. This is my 14th month on the Supersense team. It's really cool to be here for a long extended period of time. The company has grown. When I joined, I was if I remember right, I was the 6th person to join the team, and the 4th person in the US, and from there now we're at like 15 people, 18 people, something like that.
Wow!
So this team has really grown exponentially in the last year. So thank you so much for all the support. I'm already really excited for this show. You sound. It's just so welcoming here. There's just a great atmosphere. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, thank you. And I'm Warren. Hey, Dennis, we got Dennis here.
Hello there, everybody. Hi, Shane. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure.
What's up, man? How are you?
Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing well.
So tell us for those that don't know, what is Supersense and what platforms is it available on?
Absolutely. So Supersense is available on Android and iOS. You can find it on the Play Store or the App Store. Search for Supersense, one word, AI. So Supersense AI, 2 words total. And Supersense is designed to be the best products that we can make based on user feedback. So it started as an exploration app. You could use the camera to find objects in your area. You could pan it around. It would report. Now it reports over 600 objects. So staircases, people, chairs, doorways, all of that stuff. You can use the find feature which lets you look for a specific category of things. And then people said, I need something I can rely on to scan text and barcodes and banknotes. And so we started adding those features, and that's where the Supersense is today, with our smart scanner that lets you scan the documents, the quick text, the banknotes, the barcodes, and objects all automatically. You can import 400-page PDFs in there now, and it'll scan it in less than 2 minutes. You can import photos in there. There's read history, so you can see what you've scanned before. All kinds of different things to make Supersense the simplest experience, but also the best experience that you could possibly have.
Okay. So, you got Envision AI, you've got Seeing AI. Supersense, correct me if I'm wrong, does have some paid features, right?
Yeah, so the two features that are free, three features that are free in Supersense: the quick read, the importer for PDFs and photos, and the read history. Those are free. Otherwise, you have to pay to get access to the document reader, the multi-page document reader, find and explore, currency, barcodes, all that stuff.
So with Lookout on Android, can look at those barcodes. Seeing AI does barcodes, does other scanning. Why should people pay for Supersense? What sets you apart from the competition?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Lookout. I've always heard really great things about Lookout. They're doing great things. That's a thing that we can support. A lot of people will say, your competitors, Envision and Seeing AI, and these guys, we're in this for the community. So we don't really look at anyone necessarily as our competitors. We're really transparent as a company. We share a lot of our research. We share what we're doing. And so I do want to, make that clear that we're in this for the community. We're a part of the community. I'm blind myself. That's what the priority is. Now, that being said, we always want to make the best product that we can, and everything that we're doing is based on user feedback. So from my experience, I'm not even going to throw you a sales pitch right now. I'm just going to tell you my experience as a blind consumer with Supersense. I've always had the best accuracy with our document reader. At most, I get 1-2 errors per page. Usually it's completely clear. It's the most efficient for me. I'm able to do a lot without hitting many buttons, using many controls. The accuracy overall is very good. It scans barcodes quickly and gives me a lot of information. The database covers more products in my pantry than any other app that I've tried. I'll scan a lot of barcodes with other apps and get unrecognized or not found or something like that. And I get that a lot less frequently with Supersense. One of the things that we're working on now, by the way, is being able to identify your own barcodes if you've scanned something that Supersense doesn't recognize. It also has the Explore and Find features built in that you don't see on any of the other apps. The PDF importer works a lot faster. We have the photo importer. I've seen no other app with read history where you're able to access anything that you've scanned in that session with Supersense, and you can share all of that as well. So you can share anything, barcodes, for example. You can share the info off of a barcode. If you want to share nutrition facts with someone or ingredients or anything like that, you can, of course, share your documents. You can put them on the cloud. You can export them as PDFs. You can text them. You can email them. You can click on contact info from directly within the document. You can copy individual paragraphs. So it's really designed to be efficient. What's funny is, I said all of those words. The most conclusive answer that I can give you, though, as a person, as a blind consumer, a blind person that buys stuff and is involved in the business world just as a conscious person of what I buy, the most important thing that I care about that drew me to Supersense, both Mediate the company and Supersense, is that the company actually listens to people. We care what you have to say. That's what drives our development. So any change that you want to see, all of that stuff is we put it in by popular demand to help people. So we're actually going to hear what you have to say. That's really the most important thing to me about Supersense.
Now, with the going away of the ID barcode scanner, one thing that I have not found in any of these apps is the ability, for example, to get cooking time. Is that something that instructions for a barcode that, that's the one big thing the ID Mate has over other products? And I mean, let's face it, they're $1,400. They're no longer offering payment plans if you can even get one. So it's going to be out of a lot of people's price range. Is that something you thought of adding?
Absolutely. We already have research on that, actually. We're working on research so that we're able to pull cooking directions based on barcodes. That's in the works.
Are you going to allow people to submit products for the database so that the database can be updated?
Yeah, of course. That's what I was mentioning earlier, being able to label barcodes that are unrecognized.
All right,
You're able to...
let me rephrase that. If I have, say, an off-brand pizza, yes, I could label it for myself, but will anybody be able to grab that database entry that I make?
That depends. It's possible, but we have to figure out a way to filter those. It's important that we don't have incorrect info in that database. And nobody's going to do that intentionally. But if you have a can of peaches, for example, and it doesn't recognize the barcode, and it looks like, how some canned food is, you can differentiate it, and it looks like it's a can of carrots. So you're like, well, this is carrots, and you label it as carrots, and then people in the future are going to see it as carrots. That's problematic. So we have to have a way to filter through those. That's the system that we're still working on figuring out how we want to handle. But it's absolutely a possibility. It's definitely something that we want to do because it makes everyone's lives easier. It expands the database.
Okay, so
That is really nice, Shane, because it really makes sense. Because if what I submit, I thought maybe it's a can of peaches, and it turns out to be a can of carrots. And then I upload that to the database, and Dennis comes along and thinks he's getting a can of peaches while he's actually getting a can of carrots. Then it actually creates a problem. Now, so
yeah, absolutely.
I see why you need to go a little bit cautious here to be sure.
I would think that there would be some way, though, that you could filter that somehow.
Sure, of course.
How?
There's definitely a way. But we have to dedicate, we have to figure out who's going through those entries to filter it. How are we going to put that into the schedule that we already have? How we have to shift around some work processes to make that happen. So that's what we're working on. After we finish creating the feature on the technical end, then we go to the logistics of it. So it's definitely in the works.
Okay, good.
Yeah, now going back to Supersense and talking about, of course, we're talking about Supersense. Now I want to go back to, its earlier days when we were testing this. Of course, Shen, you mentioned, all the explore. It used to be the explore this and explore that. And I remember those days. And it's so nice to watch it grow over the period of time, adding this and adding that. And I think one of the things that came to mind was, people wanted the ability to recognize text. And you mentioned something earlier about, or was it Dennis, or mentioned something about several other apps, similar apps. Now, frankly, to me, I think it makes sense that we have several of these things, because the more we have of these things, the better each app gets better and better, because when there's competition, sure, I believe that we get better products. So for me, I'm truly excited that, we have on the Android side, we got the Lookouts, we got the Supersense, Speak, ID, and the list goes on.
Absolutely.
So I really like that idea that we have this, because I think what it does is it pushes the developers to do things that the others are not doing. So I'm excited. As a blind person, as a user, I think this only helps make things better for all of us.
I completely agree. Absolutely. That's something that we all benefit from. When we make a feature and someone else creates that feature, they may have a tweak on that feature that's a really good idea. that and vice versa. And so, there are these little changes that can be made that ultimately lead to better products. So really everyone's working toward the same goal. At least I hope so. It's the goal that we're working toward, which is making things better for us, the community, the people who are using the apps.
And that's the word I like. The word that you used was the community. And frankly, for me as a blind person, when I think about all these things, I'm not looking out for me as an individual. Rather, I'm thinking of the community, just like you said, Shane. And to me, that is the most important thing when we're doing things of this nature. We're helping the blind community. There are a lot of us that live alone don't have the advantage of having someone sighted with them. And so when we have things of this nature, it's a win-win situation in the life of a blind person. Yeah.
Bringing up the independence. That's always good.
Exactly, Mundo. So there's another app that you guys have on the iOS. I call it the Fruitvale, that we don't have yet. And let's kind of segue into that a little bit, and that would be the Super LIDAR. And you want to give our listeners a little overview of the Super LIDAR, Shane?
Yeah, absolutely. Super LIDAR, the goal of Super LIDAR is to change the way that we as blind people get information about our environment. It's going to enhance the way that we do that. I will start by saying nothing replaces the cane, nothing replaces the guide dog, nothing replaces your own senses. However, we can augment those things. And so Supersense starts out with this explore feature that identifies objects. We had a lot of people talking to us about, there's this buzz, Apple's creating LIDAR sensors for the latest iPhones, the 12 Pros, the iPad Pros. And so we got really excited about this. There was a lot of potential for it. And so we started developing Super LIDAR as soon as it was possible. And what Super LIDAR does, right now it's a prototype. Right now it's really simple, because what we want to do is get feedback from the users. We want you guys, the community. I say you guys, I don't include myself because I don't have a LIDAR compatible device. I'm still living in the stone ages of the iPhone 7.
That's okay.
Yeah, man. In my world, it's all iPhone 7s. It's all 7s, Windows 7s, iPhone 7. It's
Hey, you must like the number 7, Shane. That's a good
number 7. Yeah, that's what it's not even about technology anymore. It's about 7s. So actually, that's kind of a lie. I do have one machine on Windows 10 over here. Anyway, so we want users to drive this process. We want the features that you want to see to be the ones implemented first, because this is how we're going to navigate. What Super LIDAR does currently is the field of view. I don't know if you know this, but the field of view with the cameras on the iPhone 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, and the iPad Pro is amazing. It can see about 4 feet off to either side of you, up by your head, higher than your head, and down where, the cane or the guide dog would
somewhere
be.
Down
and
in the hole toward going down toward China. You dig a hole, you fall into China, right?
Yeah, it can see all the way through the planet down into the southern hemisphere. It's amazing. It's legendary technology. Yes, I was getting obstacles in Australia the other day, and no, so the field of view is really fantastic. And so what I do is I just have it pointing out at about my chest level, and it's able to see this window of all around me, all around the area in front of me. And so it's designed to detect obstacles in that area. So if the area is completely open, you'll just get some beeps. And then if it sees an object far away, as far as I remember, it can see about 30 feet out. So if it sees an object far away, it'll play a high pitch. And then as you get closer, the pitch will get lower until if you're within 4 feet of that object, the phone will vibrate in your hand. You can just with the iPad Pro as well. And then we're working on implementing the Supersense object recognition stuff. So right now it'll tell you if it sees a person. And of course, in the times of this COVID madness, it will tell you if that person is wearing a mask. And we're working on implementing things like trash cans, mailboxes, vehicles, doorways, stairs, all that stuff.
So in other words, it makes those sounds just like what do we have on Android that does that, the voice. Have you've played with the voice, right, Shane?
No, I haven't actually. I heard about it
Yeah.
recently, and it sounds really fascinating, but I haven't played with it myself.
Now, so the Super LIDAR, is that a paid app, or is it something that is, since a prototype, is it free now for like a beta testing till everything is kind of ironed out, and then maybe you look into payment models and things like that, or subscription models?
It's completely free right now. I don't know how the payment, is going to change. We want to keep it free for as long as possible, because the cheaper it is, the more people can use it, and so free is the best option. But it depends.
I like the sound of free. I like that
Yeah,
sound.
yeah, absolutely. It really warms my heart. It really gives me a good feeling
It does
in my
give a
soul.
good feeling. Yeah.
To say that we have a free app, because we want people to use it. We understand that you spent enough money on your 12 Pro or your iPad Pro or whatever LiDAR capable device you're using. So we want it to be easy to download. It's the same reason that Supersense is a paid app. If we have to charge for Super LiDAR, it's the same reason that we have to charge for Supersense. It's that we have to continue our research. We have to be able to fund what we're doing to better the community. And also, every now and then I do enjoy being able to buy dinner or groceries or pay the bills. So, it's a
That
personal
makes sense.
flaw of mine, so I do like being able to support myself. So, and the rest of my my colleagues agree. So,
Well, that totally makes sense. I think everyone wants to be able to support themselves. Now, let's talk about, I know this is now only on iOS, and, hey, do you think maybe in a wild, wild world, in a wild dream, maybe somehow down the road, some knucklehead like me would say, hey, guys, would we look into bringing this thing into Android? And, you guys got started on Android. You were our baby. We were your babies. Now,
yeah, man.
would you guys come on, bring this baby to us,
Well, knuckleheads. We
Yeah.
We'd really love to do that. I really would. It makes so much sense. We have this great connection with the Android community. The majority of our users are Android users, actually, and so we have so much love for the Android community. They're the first. You guys are the first people who gave us a shot and helped us build up our user base. So we have a lot of loyalty and dedication to you guys. The problem is, and this is really unfortunate because there's nothing that we can do about it. The problem with Super LiDAR on Android is that there's not so much consistency. The benefit, sometimes it's the drawback, but in this case, it's the benefit of iOS, is that there's consistency. There's a stable platform. You know what's going to come. We are almost positive that all future iPhones are going to be equipped with LiDAR sensors. So it makes sense to develop Super LiDAR while this is innovative, because we want to take advantage of that. We want to change the way that people are able to navigate, and we want that to have a long life. We want you to be able to use that for the rest of your life and your future generations to be able to use it. We really want a product that's going to last. We don't have that guarantee on Android. You see cases where I think it might have been one of the Pixel devices. It might have been a Samsung device. They had the LiDAR. Sorry, not LiDAR.
It was
laser.
solely, the solely on Pixel 4. I have it here, and then they dropped that, with the Pixel 5. So
yes, yeah. Exactly. And so there's nothing for us to rely on there.
Consistency, and that's the problem. You don't want to sink 50 or 60 or 100 grand into development, and
the phones are not supporting
the
it.
features here today,
Of course.
and next year it's gone. And
yeah,
sadly, it makes perfect sense. I get it.
Yeah,
it's
but
really unfortunate.
I'm still an optimist, though. I think that somehow.
Me too. I would love it. If they all get on board, if LiDAR sensors become as standard as your camera, as standard as the stereo microphones that we're getting now, then it'll happen. There's no reason not to develop super LiDAR for Android as long as we have that stability. If super LiDAR, if we believed that the LiDAR sensors would only be on the 12 Pro and the iPad Pro, and then the future iPhones wouldn't have LiDAR anymore, we most likely wouldn't have developed super LiDAR for iOS either, because there's no consistency.
So
But that's if we can do it, if there is a realm, if there's a possibility that we can rely on to do it, then we'd love to. It'd be great.
because I'm looking at some of the camera technologies, with the Samsung phones and things like that. I think maybe you guys should give it a second look. Even if all we have is on Samsung devices, at least we know that it's there on Android. So let's don't throw it all the way out yet, Shane. I'm thinking that you,
Of course,
being there,
of course.
you're gonna
Listen, the
you'll be
more
an optimist
devices
like
that
me.
use the same technology, the more likely it is. That's absolutely, because seriously, it would be amazing to be able to put this on Android. It would be fantastic. I'd love to do that.
That would be so nice. That would be so nice.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, this has been so great. Dennis, you have any comments about that before I jump
Yeah.
back to Supersense?
I mean, again, I completely get where Supersense is coming from. It's about the consistency. It would be nice to see it on Android, but you're limited by the power of Android right now, and the fact that that's one of the downsides of Android is that it is so fragmented.
But it is its strength too. One of the strengths of Android. Don't forget.
Oh yeah,
That's the beauty.
I completely
of Android.
agree.
Oh, believe me,
I
it
love
has
that
its
about Android.
strengths. It has its the fact that it's open source has its strengths, but in a case like this, that also is a downside.
Yes, of course, there will
So,
always be downsides to everything.
Hopefully they get on board and say, okay, we're going to all develop a standard camera that's going to have a LIDAR equivalent sensor or LIDAR technology, and they all implement it. I suspect that they implement it for 2 or 3 years and show that it's going to be a here to stay. I suspect we will see LIDAR for Supersense, with Supersense LIDAR for Android.
Of
I'm
course,
very-
there's no
I'm
reason
very
not to at that point.
I'm hopeful because
I completely get where you're coming from as a developer. You don't want to, take the Pixel 4. It was there. Had it been the Pixel 5, you probably would have went ahead with development because it was okay. It's here.
Yeah, it's a
Go
lot
on to
more
the
likely
Pixel
that
5.
way. Of course.
there would have been a
So-
continuation, but Google dropped that, with the Pixel 5. But like I said, though, I think something like Samsung with their new technology, camera technology, probably I think it's something comparable. And Samsung's always copying. Well, they both copy each other anyway. So who knows?
Oh,
Maybe
Apple copies
Samsung will,
Android too. Take the
Samsung will
take the
copy
Of
picture,
course.
the
picture
LiDAR.
page, the app
Oh yeah,
library.
it's a give and take. Everybody's
Because-
copying each other here.
Yeah, because LiDAR is an old technology. It's something that's been there for a long time, and
Oh yeah,
just-
since the 60s.
yeah,
LiDAR's
so-
old.
Anyone can use it if they so choose to, and so so we're looking forward to seeing things of this nature, come to Android, and hopefully, down the road, maybe in a couple of years, who knows? But really, it's something that would be kind of
Oh, I agree with being a
very
game
helpful to blind
changer.
people.
And the more platforms it's available on, the better. Now, I know you had a sale back in December, Shane. Are there any plans to have another one for those that missed it, couldn't take advantage of it in December?
Absolutely. That sale, I want to give a personal thanks to anyone who took advantage of the Supersense sale that we had in December. That was an incredible success because of you guys. So thank you so much for trusting us and supporting us. Really, really genuinely, sincerely grateful for that. The more people like you that subscribe, the more people that show an interest and prove to us that that Supersense has value, the more we're going to put into it. So absolutely, we're planning another sale. I could tell you, you'll see one coming soon in the next couple of months. I don't have dates yet, unfortunately.
If
But
it's
you'll be hearing
celebrate
something.
Easter or
You'll be hearing
something
from
like
us.
that, you know.
Okay. And will the same pricing structure be offered as far as like for the lifetime?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably. It might be different, but most likely it'll be the same. We haven't, as I say, we're still planning. We're still in the stages of, we're honestly, we're still happy, because we had our projections, we had our ideas, about how the sale would go. It was 10 times our projections. It was incredible.
Now that's
So
a good news, because to be
That
honest
is
with you,
great.
the
It is.
cheaper it is, or the more frequently you guys have this type of sales, the more stuff you put into hands of people, because a lot of people want the app, or but then it's sometimes kind of
And a lot of people want the lifetime, but just can't afford the $100. But having it at 50% off, like you did, yeah.
What's the regular
Was-
price? Is it $199 or $200 for a
no,
lifetime?
no, 100. It's $99.99 for the lifetime.
Oh, that's not on sale though?
No,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's a straight price.
Okay. So that's even
the-
a little bit cheaper than I thought, though.
you had it at 50% off for the lifetime, and that's a great deal. I just unfortunately wasn't able to take advantage of it, but I definitely do want to. Now, what about those that have privacy concerns about their data? Do you keep their data? Does it go anywhere? How does that work?
We don't keep anything that you scan. We don't know what you scan. We don't save it anywhere. So there's nothing that identifies you, because there's nothing there at all.
And I
So you
think
could
this thing also
scan.
works offline, though, because I've tested it in an airplane mode, and it works. So if it works
Yes.
in airplane mode, this thing is not necessarily relying on the internet to recognize your text.
Yes, the document reader will send it up to the server for processing, and that's because our AI does a lot in document mode. Document mode is our most intelligent feature. It has smart guidance. It does a lot to clear that image up. So those go to our server, but there's no storing action that happens. We don't retain any of that data. It's processed and it's sent immediately back to your device.
Good. Well, good. Well, Shane, we want to thank you for coming. I know you're a student, and don't want to take too much of your time here, my man. But like I said,
Seriously, this is great. Thank you. I'm having a great time. If you have any other questions, I'm having a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
I want to sneak in
great.
one or two more questions that have popped into my brain.
Sure.
You had said it has a 400-page limit for the PDF. What if something's more than that? Are you planning to expand it? I wouldn't see why in the world you would need it, but maybe somebody wants to scan a book or something that's more.
Oh yeah, listen. I'm a high fantasy reader. I love my epic fantasy books. Shout out to my Brent Weeks readers out there, my Brandon Sanderson readers out there. I am very familiar with books in excess of 1,000 pages. We've tested with 400 pages, and we've had really quick, successful scans. So PDFs longer than that. I don't think that we limit them. I don't think Supersense won't scan them. It'll just take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Than that we usually get a 400-page scan in less than 2 minutes. If it's a 1,000-page book, it might take you 5 or 7 or 8 minutes.
And fine, now we want it down to the 2 minutes.
2 minutes is really good.
We're slacking. Come on.
Frankly, I've had other, similar apps that, you try to scan something and it's taking forever and it just times out or something like that. Now, if this thing could scan a 400-page thing in 2 minutes time, I think that's really, really good. That's really good.
Absolutely. Give it a try. If you have any problems with it, let me know. Same with any of our features. I can't stress this enough. Get in touch if you have any problems. I've heard that we don't have our request a call button available on Android. We're working on implementing that. So you can feel free to get in touch with me directly. My email address is Shane, SHANE at mediate.tech, SHANE at MEDIATE.TECH. Please feel free to send me an email if you need anything at all. I'd love to be in touch.
Good. Now, Dennis, you had another question.
The document mode that you had said about. Does that tell people, for example, you said it gives them guidance. So will that tell them move your camera to the left? Will that tell them when it's aligned properly? And can it work with some of the scan stands that are out there?
Yes to both of those. It does work well with scan stands. I've had several people test with several different scans, all with really, really great results. And yes to the guidance. So it gives you really simple directions, really easy to follow. We're actually working on I just put out the first draft of our new audio tutorial. I just sent it out to our marketing and product people to take a look at it, where I'm reviewing some of those guidance directions. And it's really quick now as well. So, it'll tell you, move your phone a little bit toward yourself, move your phone a little bit farther away from the document.
Yeah.
These different things. It's going to give you really simple directions to get the best picture possible.
Okay. Are there any scanning stands that you would recommend over another, either through personal experience or user feedback?
I've had no issues with any scan stand with Supersense. I haven't heard reports of any. So if you already have a scan stand, you should have no issues using that with Supersense. If you don't have one, there are a variety of them on Amazon. All you need really is, if you just want something cheap and portable, there are cardboard scanner stands that you can just fold out. They look like a box almost. You slide the paper into the bottom, and you have the top has a little hole, little square hole cut out for your phone's camera. And so you can just put your phone right on top and then slide the document into the stand. You could also, of course, go with, some more durable options but those cardboard ones they'll just run you about $12. They're pretty cheap. So good place to start experimenting.
All right.
Well,
Thank you very much. We definitely do appreciate all the hard work you and your company do, and we appreciate your time. And we absolutely would love to have you on. When when that sale is, do get back in touch with us so we can have you on prior to the sale, so you can announce to everybody that there is another sale, and we'll be looking for
Shane,
that.
That's a good
Absolutely.
idea. How about I'll keep
my
in
pleasure.
touch, and when that is coming up, we want to give people the heads up so that they will jump on it.
I would love to do that. I would love to come on and talk about that. It would be an honor.
Something that I definitely am interested in seeing where it goes. I have both devices, and it, like I said, it's a good all around product, and it is accessible.
It is,
and it's extremely accurate.
Thank you so much for the compliments. Really appreciate that. This has been so much fun. I love the atmosphere here. You guys, you ask good questions, but it's just also incredibly welcoming. So thank you guys very, very much. I'm so excited to be here. Please keep in touch. I would love to talk to you more in the future about any updates.
One more curveball to throw at you before you go.
Hit me. What do you got?
Dennis is not gonna let you go, Shane.
He's not letting up. It's good. It's good. Bring it.
Is there a trial of Supersense? I don't know why I didn't think that from the beginning.
Yeah, 7 days. You can try everything for 7 days before it asks for payment.
Now, there was something I was going to ask Shane, and I forgot. We got it talking. Now, I don't remember. Does it do handwritten material? I'm not sure.
Yes.
It does. Okay.
It does.
Because I think
the quality is going to vary.
One of the things
if the handwriting isn't accurate.
Yeah.
But, if the handwriting isn't great quality, of course, the scan won't be as good quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it can handle handwriting. It does pretty well. We're always making improvements to those kind of things as we come up with them. Always trying to make those things better. So, you can always expect improvement in areas like handwriting.
Will people dig out them birthday cards and celebrate Christmas cards?
Yeah, take a look. You can
postcards.
You can see what people were writing about you in the 90s. Yeah, take a look.
Or like my wife liking to, write her journal, and I grabbed it one time and I was scanning it. She's like, "You're gonna scan my." my journal and put it on the internet. I said, "Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm just testing." Oh, but
I love it.
It makes sense that we have a couple apps that do handwritten material, Supersense and Envision AI. Because to me, sometimes a blind student, maybe hey, you could say to the teacher, "Could I, catch a shot of that, whiteboard or whatever board? I want to be able to catch, the notes that you've written out there." So it just makes it so nice that we'll be able to have something like that to use. So I really like that
Absolutely.
idea. Yeah.
Of course.
Well, Shane,
Definitely.
thank you so much. We're not going to take your time any more than what we have.
Thank you so much. I'm having a ton of fun. I'm having a great time.
But
Don't even worry about it.
I believe that though we've touched on some of the most important things, and especially on Android, because like I said, this is our baby and we are its babies, so
Of course.
we're so excited about Supersense. And regards to Emre and the entire team, you guys have been so wonderful, and I'm looking forward to
Thank you so much.
a better relationship as we keep going together and looking into bringing more and more features.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your kindness.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shane. Well, that was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
It was. And so how about now that we have heard all that Shane had to tell us about Supersense, all the good stuff coming up and all of that, we'll be having him back as indicated. And so now I think it's time for us to kind of try to demo the app a little bit. So this is the one that we got. So I'm going to open up Supersense. I'm going to turn up my volume here a little bit. So of course, the difference between the paid version and unpaid version, now both would do what we call the quick read, and by default is set to quick read. And then let's have a little overview of it, so people who are not familiar with Supersense would get familiar with it, the layout of the app and all of that. So at the top left, we have the menu, and then we got the flashlight on. So it means if you do something, it's going to turn on the flashlight. You could switch that. It's a toggle.
Flashlight mode changed to off.
So now you hear it says flashlight set to off.
Flashlight mode changed to auto.
Then this auto.
Flashlight mode changed to on.
And the reason why you're not hearing it too loud is because I need to turn up my media volume.
Flashlight mode changed to off.
There we go.
Flashlight mode changed to auto. Flashlight mode changed to on.
So those are the toggles that you have with the flashlight. It's either on or off or set to auto. I think
Flashlight mode changed to off. Flashlight mode changed to auto.
We should leave it on auto. Then there's the help. And so, like I said, by default, we have the select to read. And then you have the explore, the things that we talked about earlier. And find, you want to find a specific object. And start reading. That's when, if you tap here, then it will start capturing what's in front of the camera view. And so here we could switch the modes. Let's look at the modes. So when you tap on the mode, it arranges them in a stack order on the top part of the phone. So,
at least 1 foot away and parallel to the document. Accessibility volume set to 4. Quick read. Read short text instantly. Hold the phone at least 1 foot away from the text.
So that's the first one.
Document. Premium feature. Reads longer documents with advanced features. Hold the phone at least 1 foot away and parallel to the document.
So the document is a paid version, so you cannot scan a document if you don't have a subscription.
Read multi-page documents with the assistance of smart guidance. Hold the phone at least 1 foot away and parallel to the documents. After you scan a page, you can add more pages or finish scanning to get the combined results.
I think that's also paid.
Currency. Premium feature. Recognize currencies and nearly estimated value of a banknote. Hold your camera to a single banknote at least 1 feet away, and the app will read it out for you.
Now, I don't know what type of currencies it supports. I know I have a Chinese yuan somewhere here, and I have a British something somewhere in my bag somewhere.
Imports an image or PDF from the photos or downloads and reads the document mode.
Now, anyone can use this, whether you're a paid member or you're not a paid member. You can import your PDFs, just like we talked about earlier on.
Text history. Displays your text recognition history in a single screen, so you can navigate through the recently recognized text and share it to other apps.
All right, so that would be it. So how about we give it a little
Start reading button.
test? And I have this book on my lap.
I'm reading text. Please point your camera to a text. Extreme fires of earth environment Consilu 1. Time fires turning heroic the BL fires turning armies Germany had their inconceived never been. Fires MCH more dramatic can law. Memorable King Ram on where we are where seconds and generated Janice.
Well, my lady who's reading that thing. So this is one of those Voxygen voices that we once upon a time had on the Play Store. Those voices are gone. So anyway, those voices are gone. And so I'm using, that's Amanda. And so now I want to go to the document mode.
Currency, premium feature, read multi-page scanning, read documents, quick read short text instantly. Multi-page scanning, premium feature, read multi-page documents with the assistance of smart guidance. Hold the phone at least 1 foot away and parallel to the documents. After you scan a page, you can add more pages or finish scanning to get the combined results.
Okay,
Document, premium feature.
let's try the document one
I'm
first.
reading document. Please point your camera to a document.
Pause.
Move your device slightly to the left and toward yourself. Processing.
Okay, so it captured that. Now, after capturing, you could either hit play or you can use your screen reader to read it.
Play button. Pause.
Enter brush and make WTY for new growth. Furkency all and trigger seed germinatia. Humans long relied on central fire for warm flight, cooking, farming and protection from predators. Fire can also lay waste and destroy. Scientists believe climate change with prolonged droughts and record temperatures is contributing to increasingly devastating wildfire. We are seeing more fire activity, more extreme weather, extreme fires all over the world.
Play.
Well, that's just a little book, my kids' book. So definitely it's a good app if you but I would suggest that we wait for when they're on sale. These guys regularly do sales, and like Shane had indicated, I think something is coming up in the month of March. And so, you want to start saving some of those taxes. If you're here in the US, you file for your taxes. Maybe cut down some, put away some $40, $50 or whatever, so you could get that lifetime subscription of the Supersense.
I was just going to say, how do you think it compares to some of the other apps on the market of that type, like your Lookout, so you see, or your Envision AIs? What I quite liked when you were demonstrating the document thing was, in terms of orienting the camera to the document, it seems to use more natural language than some of the other ones. So it doesn't, it doesn't talk about what edges are visible. It sort of says, move it in ways that are easily understandable. But I just wonder what you thought compared to some of the other ones.
That's a very good observation, Edward. Really, there's gonna be the other apps, and this is what we're gonna be doing. I think maybe in our next episode, we're totally gonna just dedicate a whole section or a whole episode on these various scanning apps, because it depends, sometimes people prefer it this way, sometimes people prefer it the other way. And so I think that the good news is that, I think for me, it all boils down to how does it scan the material that I'm after? Does it have it accurate? Are there any errors, more errors than I needed, or maybe 1 or 2 or 3 errors, and I can live with that? And so, what do you guys think about that? We have the Lookout, we have the Envision, we have the other guys, what is it? Leisure, Legere, the voice dream scanner. It used to be called voice dream scanner, and now it's called the Leisure or something like that. Edward, what's the correct pronunciation? I think it's not like a French. You're from the UK. You probably know how to pronounce that thing better.
And I would have gone for Leisure as well. I don't know, to be honest, but Leisure sounded right to me. Yeah, the old voice stream. You got Speak as well, haven't you?
Then we have Speak. Yes, our friend Eyal from Israel has that Speak. Yeah, so Dennis and Austin, what do you guys think?
I think for different scenarios, you have to try different apps.
I think Supersense has perhaps right now, as of this moment, more potential than any of them, especially if you need barcodes with the going away of the ID mate, the ability to enter your own barcodes, which is what I believe it's either out or it's coming out, where you can, if it's not in there, you can name it if it's not in their database. That is a very powerful thing, and I think that can be a very big thing, and no other thing on Android has that. Lookout doesn't do that. Where else it will be more powerful is if it gives you, for example, that you scan a pizza and it tells you the direction, how to cook it, things of that nature, which the ID mate could do. If they do that, this thing can be a game changer. So if you're on the fence about buying it, I'd buy it, because this thing could be a game changer. Lookout currently doesn't do any of these things. No other one does on Android. The things that this thing will be doing by the end of the year. So if you don't buy it, I'd definitely be monitoring it to see where it's at, because it's only going to get better, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth.
That's true, Dennis. And I think that one thing that the Lookout doesn't have is that barcode reading. Of course, it does have the reading of food labels.
It does food labels, but it doesn't.
Food labels
It
is
doesn't
really,
do. It
it's really
doesn't give
good.
you more details, and that's something that they should be, or allow you to add your own. If it doesn't recognize it and you know what it is, it should allow you to type it in. And
Yeah.
Supersense should also allow you to type or dictate the barcode information in.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. So like I said, though, we didn't touch on that, but, just like we talked about, in the interview earlier with Shane, we touched on that and how that could be either reliable or unreliable. But what's going to happen here is that when we pit these apps against each other, then people could see which one they want to keep. If you don't have enough room, then you know which one you want to keep. I think that makes all the difference. But if you have room, like I do, I have, a folder of OCR packages, and there are 3 pages in that folder because I have all kinds of, OCR related apps. So when we do this demonstration or this comparison coming up sometime down the line, maybe next episode or the episode thereafter, I'm going to totally dedicate that to OCR packages, and then we'll see which one comes up on top. Of course, it's always going to be relative, but then
that is always so subjective.
Yes,
because
it is.
what you may like, I may say no, it's lacking. So that everybody needs to take that for what it's worth. It's subjective. You may have different needs than us. You may have different wants than us. And if an app that you would like to use doesn't have it, I can't stress enough, reach out to these app developers and let them know, hey, I need to see this feature or that feature. And state why. Don't just say you want to see X feature. and hit send. That's not good enough. State why. What are people going to gain by this feature? Why is it important to you? What would that do to enhance the app? And generally speaking, if you can make a good use case, you will at least get them to listen. And you got to start somewhere.
That's correct. Hey, Edward or Austin, any comments about that before we
I think
kind of move on?
Supersense is easier to use because it tells you naturally move your phone here and there, not like other apps.
Well, actually, I think they all do, though, to be honest. I think the one that doesn't, well, I'm not going to spoil the movie. Let's keep that for the next episode. And of course, like, both Dennis and I said, all this is subjective, depends on the person using it and what that person wants to see. So, hey, should we transition to our next segment? And that would be the one I've been waiting for, though so important for me. I always love this segment of the podcast. And that would be the My Android Journey story. Unless you guys have any comments, then I want to have that opportunity to say, hey, Edward, give us that Android Journey story of yours, Dennis and Austin, you guys have any closing comments about Supersense before we have our guest take us through that memory lane?
I think it's a good app and it will definitely bring more features to the end of the year.
Again, as Shane said in the interview, Supersense is very much user driven. So if there's something you want to see, reach out to him and let him know what it is you want to see.
Well, thank you so much. Hey, Edward, we want to hear your story, my man.
Absolutely. Welcome, Edward.
Yeah.
And tell us about your Android journey. I'm interested to hear it.
Thanks very much, guys, and thanks a lot for the opportunity to do it as well. It's a really good segment of the podcast, and I've enjoyed listening to other people's experiences. I got my first Android phone round about the end of 2012, start of 2013. I'd been on iOS a couple of years by that point, and it was the Nexus 4, so the phone that LG made for Google. And at the time, I think it was running Jelly Bean.
That was a beautiful phone. Sorry to interrupt.
It's still here. It's alive.
Beautiful phone.
This is my Nexus 4. This isn't the best mic in the world, but I have just unlocked the Nexus 4. I dug it out of a drawer when I knew I was doing this to see if it still worked.
I love the sound of it, Edward.
And it does.
A memory land.
I forgot how tinny and trebly the speaker was, though, compared to some of the older ones. I mean, it is a little candy bar phone from 9 years ago, to be fair to it. I don't know what it was, though. At that time, I didn't immediately take to Android. It was back when menus were in circles, like round a clock face, rather than in a list. I couldn't quite get my head around the angular gestures, so my purchased on eBay Nexus 4 sort of went back into a drawer for a bit. And then a few years later, I was looking around for a phone to see where Android had come to, really. And I got a Sony Xperia XZ Compact, which again is a candy bar phone. But for the money, I thought it had quite good specs. So I think it had a 19 megapixel back camera, which at the time was quite good. It's Sony hardware, so pretty solid. Internal storage is a bit chintzy at 32 gig, but for $600 at the time, it was quite a nice phone, and also still works, although it's in a state of not really being set up at the minute because I gave it to my wife, who didn't do much with it. But so I used that a lot as a media player. I got an iPhone 10 around the same time, so I used it pretty much as a media player rather than a dedicated device. Because, as I say, for a little phone, it had quite good hardware, two decent-ish. So phones, so how good's it ever going to be? But two decent-ish speakers. But then, round about the start of last year, 2020, 5G got started to be rolled out in London on a couple of networks. I mean, it's still a bit patchy, but we do get 5G. And I thought I'd quite like to have a 5G device. And I knew at that time that when Apple brought out a 5G device, I wouldn't want to pay what Apple wanted me to pay to have it, which pretty much necessitated a switch to Android. And so I had a look at my carrier, see what was available, and I got one of the Samsung produced so many phones, it's so confusing. One of the A series Samsung devices with 5G, the A90, which is a bigger phone. It's okay. It's not particularly flashy. It only has one speaker, which is a bit disappointing for media play anyway. And I was using that quite happily. You know, it was a good phone. When it got 5G, it was pretty quick. Wasn't ever going to pull up any trees, but then again, I don't think it's meant to. But then I was walking into work, and I don't know if other cities do, but on some of our crosswalks, they've started to put up those knee-high bollards to stop sort of vehicle-enabled terrorist attacks and trucks driving onto pavement. And I misjudged the bollard in the middle of the crosswalk and had my Samsung in my front jeans pocket, which is always a disastrous thing to do. So there was an ominous crunching sound, which suggested the screen had not survived contact with the bollard. I had a look at the phone. I thought the screen protector might have taken the brunt of the damage. I peeled it off, and the screen was gone. So it took me a little while to get that repaired. I repaired it with a view to selling it. So then I started to have a look around about what other phone did I want. I didn't think I liked that particular Samsung model enough to buy a replacement for it out of my own pocket rather than on a deal. So I had a look and started to look at OnePlus, because that they've traditionally offered, I think, quite good value, quite good bang for your buck. Perhaps not as much as previously, but still, I settled on the OnePlus 8. Got it in the Amazon, what's it called? Prime Day? The thing where they discount everything for
Prime Day.
24, 48 hours. Yeah, Prime Day thing. So I think I paid about $550 for it. It's got 256 internal storage. It's got 12 gig of RAM. It upgraded to Android 11 pretty quickly. And I don't know if this will come over on the headset. I'll swipe, because I think it gives you a better idea of responsiveness, but then I will run my finger up and down the screen. Hopefully you can tell. So it's pretty snappy. There's not much delay at all between the haptic and the talkback. Certainly better than the Samsung, which I think has about half the RAM. And so the Android phone now, starting with the Samsung but carrying on with the OnePlus, is my primary device. Like every time I pull out my iPhone, it's flat because it's gone flat on standby because I haven't used it. And I do most computing things that I need to do on the phone. So I'll shop on the phone. I will write emails on the phone, not with peripherals. I tend to use either the on-screen standard keyboards or the TalkBack Braille keyboard, and I'll do most of the net surfing that I want to do on the phone. And I think what struck me, I mean, obviously everyone knows how customizable Android it is. It's kind of old hat to say that, but what I've been quite surprised about is a lot of the third-party apps seem to be more stable on Android than they are on iOS. So, you can't move on Facebook for people complaining about what's happened in the latest iOS Facebook update. A little bit the same with YouTube. We have a takeout app here called Just Eat. And access, I don't know why, but accessibility just doesn't seem to break as often on this side. So having sort of made a few false starts into Android, I'm quite glad that I've now transitioned, and as I say, use the OnePlus 8 as my primary device.
Well, it's definitely has a lot better storage. It sounds like you got a lot better bang for your buck than 32 gig for 600. Now times have changed. How about it?
And you know what?
I really 4 years.
I really like the part that you were talking about, and this is why I kind of like these Android journey stories. You mentioned the Just Eat. I like that food part of it. So, it's time to grab that grub.
Yeah.
I'll pull that baby
One of the
out and get some
consequences of
grub.
lockdown is that one of the consequences of our lockdown, we're still in a lockdown, is
Yeah.
that the quality of takeaway choice has got a lot better because all the mainstream restaurants have to come on it rather than just your hole in the wall counters.
But that's a beautiful Android story, Edward, most especially, all the different phones you went through and finally getting to the OnePlus. And, one thing you mentioned there that I also noticed, I have an older, I call them the Fruitvale, iPhone. I have an older, 7 Plus, also has 256 gigs. And I noticed that I'll put that thing down, it's off. But frankly, when I turn it back on, the battery is like almost gone or totally gone. And my Android, I have my Essential PH1 phone that I probably haven't turned on since maybe August or September. If I turn that thing on now, it probably has 50 to 60 battery life. It's just amazing, the difference. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I noticed that with my Samsung. That's similar. If I turn that back on now, it still holds battery life even when it's off pretty well.
So that was your Android story, and it's beautiful. I like hearing it.
Yeah, but I have some questions. Like now, 5G is rolling out in UK, and India has not got 5G yet. What are the speeds like of 5G there?
They're pretty good. I mean, I haven't used something like the Ookla speed test app, but I'm fully on cellular now. So I got rid of our landline ADSL. I've got a 4G router for the internet, and the 5G on the phone is noticeably faster when it gets it. I mean, it's still patchy to the extent that even when you're in a 5G location, you don't reliably connect to 5G yet. But when you do, you certainly notice it. I mean, sort of 200, 300, 400 meg files are coming down, pretty swiftly. So certainly, as I say, you can feel the difference from 4G.
That was a very interesting Android story, and we definitely thank you for sharing it.
All right.
Thanks for having me on.
How about, Dennis, you go ahead and give our closing remarks, a way for people to get a hold of us. And by the way, our webpage is up and running.
All right, everybody. Edward, thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure. And if anybody else wants to share their Android story, definitely do reach out to us. You can reach us at contact us at blindandroidusers.com. You can subscribe to our email list, Blind Android Users plus subscribe at groups.io. That again is Blind Android Users plus subscribe at groups.io. And you can join the mailing list. You can ask your questions, and no question's a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. Because if you don't ask, you're not going to get an answer. It may not be the answer you want, but hey, we will do our very best to help you. That is our goal. If there's something you want to see on a future episode, definitely do reach out to us at contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And that website is www.blindandroidusers.com. Go check it out. Let us know your feedback. And until next week, everybody, have an awesome week.
And don't forget, if you have tweet and you want to tweet, you can follow us at Blind Droid Users. That's another one. And we do have a Telegram group. I know that's Austin's favorite. We can't not mention that. Austin, you want to talk about your favorite?
Yeah, the Telegram group link will be in the show notes, and it is also there on our website, and that also is growing. We are up to about 72 members on that group.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for listening, taking your time to listen to us on this podcast. And Edward, thank you so much again, man.
That'd be great. Anytime.
Yeah, but you go
Thanks
get
very
that
much.
roast.
It's been great.
Thank you, my man.
I shall.
All right.
Cheers,
Bye,
guys.
everybody. Cheers.